is to figure out what you want, where you want to go, north, south, east, west. You got to figure out what you want. And you got to get crystal clear. You need to be able to write it out specifically, have a picture of it, the whole thing. It's got to be crystal clear in your brain. This is what I want. That's the most important step. Then the most important step is to figure out, what is your reason why? Does your reason why that you want this goal make you cry? Because if you don't get emotional about the goal, you're probably going to cave in to the adversity that's going to come at you with anything in life, right? So number one, what do you want? Number one, why do you want it? And then the third step, which is also number one, is to find somebody who has done what you want to do successfully. They have credentials. They can show you, okay? Hint. And have a conversation. How you can be the greatest salesperson on the planet.
One of the big things we talk about is how you can't do everything yourself. You need to have a mastermind alliance of people around you,
no question,
that are better at things than you are. Jim started by talking about the think tank. And Fran, I imagine there's this concept of how can you find who's, not just how to do it all myself, right? Who's the who that you can find? Who's the expert counsel that can help? And you were that for Jim,
yes,
right? You came in,
yes.
And what did that look like? You met Jim, and how did you help? What did that look like?
It was easy, to be honest with you. Jim wanted it. There's not everybody. A lot of people say, hey, they want to do better, but they're not willing to do it. And Jim was wide open. He just, okay. So we just started slow. We had 4 salespeople. And I remember they had to go TO upstairs. Okay. And I said to Jim this morning earlier, hey, he held them accountable. Hey, did you do a walk around? Did you do good meet and greet? Did you do demo? Just basics. We didn't have to do nothing crazy. And man, he just took off. As far as the managers, I guess within 8 months, we had to remove 1 or 2 of them that didn't believe in the system.
Yep.
But that's where Jim said you got to get that team.
We're going to miss you. We're going to miss you. Love you. You're great, but this is what we want you to do. And if you're willing to do it, we'll keep you. If you're not willing to do it, we got to make room for somebody else.
And then we had projections. Okay, we want to sell this many cars, so you need this many salespeople. Sooner or later down the line, you're going to need another technician. We had a long-term plan, but we had to work it every month. And I was really blessed by meeting him because he helped me just as much as him, because it just makes you feel so much better when there are people that are willing to pay their dues.
Process.
And like I said, I was excited driving out. I get to see my old friend this morning.
So listen, again, how many salespeople were working at the dealership when you came aboard?
4.
How many do you think there are working at the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group, which is the dealership you came to, was the seat of this whole thing? It was the seat. How many do you think there are now? And I don't even know. I'm going to guess. How many do you think there are?
I know Dave Shannon's with you. I don't know the other people.
No. How many salespeople total in the whole network do you think we have now?
Oh, 17 salespeople?
Yeah.
170.
300.
Oh.
That's my guess. Because there's 20 stores.
Okay.
And probably 15 salespeople for
All
store.
right. I thought I was, okay, that's cool.
I would say it's between 200 and 300. I think you're not too far off the mark either. I don't know. I'm not involved. I'm retired. But I'll tell you what, I'll find out today. I will ask my son how many salespeople they have. And you know what? True business, I'll bet he doesn't know. Because they're all individual pods.
Yeah.
So I probably have to go back and say, how many of you, and go through the whole thing. I'll tell you, no, my brother Russell will know. He'll have to ask as well. Because it's not something we focus on. We focus on training. And then when we get done training, guess what we do?
More training.
It's every day.
Yeah.
We train every day. There was a question posted in, you saw it, right?
Yeah.
What did I say? Some guy said we train every day is too much. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I said, no, every day. We trained every day.
Every day.
Right?
Yeah.
Every day. Just a little bit.
Look, if I had 70 salespeople as a GM down in Texas and we all got together for 20 minutes, why can't then somebody with 10, 15 guys do one?
Yeah.
The problem is you got to make it short and sweet, right to the point. We did ours different. I don't know what anybody else does. If you ask salespeople what they hate and what they like, they'll say it's a B session or they don't get nothing out of it. So we made it real quick. Like our F&I would speak right off the bat. Hey, you need another $500. Your guy goes at 2 o'clock, whatever. Boom. He'd go out and wait on the customers because nobody could take it up till 9 o'clock. Our used car manager jumped in next. He'd go over what's bought at the auction, what's going back to the auction, and ask, what do you need help with? What needs thing? The third thing we did, we had the salespeople. And we did it for a whole month. Okay, Jim, you're going to talk about TO today.
Good for you.
Tomorrow, you're going to talk about what to do in a demo. You overcome an objection. So they spoke for 5 minutes. Then if we did any advertising or anything, promotion, that'd take 2 minutes. And then at the end, we gave out cash to the performers. Hey, you sold a car yesterday. You paid $4,500. How'd you do that? It was a repeat referral. We'd have dice rolls, $1 a point. Not a lot. And, you feel cocky, you roll double against the house. Then we had dart rolls. And we always paid the performers and made it fun. And then we all go to work. And to me, it's cheaper to pay your salespeople a couple grand a month to the ones that are doing the right stuff than it is to waste money in advertising. Treat salespeople the same way. Treat them like $1 million and they'll make you too. I really believe that.
I believe that too. Love the customer, love the team, keep it very humble. That applies to any business on the planet.
Amen.
Love on them. Love your customers. Thank them for coming in. Thank them for leaving. I don't mean leaving, but thank them for their time at your place of business. Your team, love, respect. Take care of your team. Make sure they're financially rewarded for doing a great job. Fran unknowingly touched on that. And then keep it very humble was really one of the biggest things we learned is that arrogance pushes people away. It pushes team members away and it pushes clients away. So when you are arrogant as a business owner, business manager, team member, you're working against yourself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
You're absolutely working against yourself. So you have a goal. You want to do X, you want to make X, whatever it is. When you become arrogant, you're going against your own goal. And I'm telling you for a fact, I don't like arrogance. So if I'm your customer, I'm leaving. Yeah. When I'm in a situation where there's a very arrogant commotion going on, you're going to say, this happens. Where'd Jim go? I don't know. I think he might have left. He did. Because I don't want to be a part of that. You're way too arrogant for me. I don't want to be a part of it. And so if I'm your customer and you're arrogant, I'm going to just take you off my list. That's as simple as that. And if I'm a team member, if I'm on your team and you're arrogant as my coach, as my team member, I'm getting off that team. I don't want to be part of it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And I think it's not me. Do you think I'm wrong?
No.
I think it's true of most people in our world today. Arrogance it pushes people away. Let's leave it at that. Okay?
Yeah, it's true.
A lot of managers don't know or don't understand the difference between a requirement and a request. It's okay, it's required to do mail, it's required to do appointment a day. And when you go try and make them accountable, some of the old people say, or the older pros, they say, oh, that's micromanagement. Let me tell you something. The people who are doing the job don't mind answering that question. It's the ones who aren't doing it. And that's where you got to have a meeting of the minds. Hey, it's required to do it. I shouldn't have to tell the same person a dozen times that TO would deal when it's a requirement. So what happens? Okay, as a GM, I'm responsible to fix that problem, and it's how you do it. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather kill them with kindness than anything else. However, it's just the business. If they're not going to do it, like Jim said, hey, I love you, but we got to part ways.
And you know what? It's interesting. And this is, so many people take we're going to miss you as a really negative scenario. But do you realize that when you take that person who's not doing what you're requesting them to do, and you're the business owner, or you're the general manager, or you're the salesman, whatever the case may be, they're not doing what you want them to do, what you got from Fran Taylor, expert counsel. So it's the right way to go, but they're not doing what you want them to do. So when you dismiss them in terms of we're going to miss you, guess what you've done? You've created a void. So there's a void, and nature abhors a vacuum. So when there's a void, we have to fill that void because it's an empty space. So what do? We go to work on filling the void. And unbeknownst to us, there's this guy, Fran Taylor, out there. There's this guy. He's not the only one, but there's this guy or girl. And we say, hey, can we have a talk? Yeah, and we do. And we start talking and say, you know what? We have a void. So we put you in that void. How do we know we don't have the next greatest salesperson that ever hit the planet in this cat right here? So now the cat goes in the void, starts doing what we asked him, and she's doing what we asked her to do. We now have a player. But with the player and the results, remember, with our program, Rethink You 3.0, I'm going to start calling it 3.0. With our program, Rethink You 3.0, results are the name of the game. Results are the name of the game. And so you tell me, Fran, you're the executive manager here. You really are. You're great. So when we get rid of the troublemaker, we bring in the new person. They're doing what we asked them to do. They're getting incredible results. What happens to the rest of the team?
Oh, everybody pays attention.
Yeah.
You see, my goal as a GM to get you doing so good, all of you, not
Just one person can cause you to be able to say, wait a second, Joey, look what Linda's doing. Hey, Billy, come here a second. Look what Linda's doing. And all of a sudden, we get 3 or 4 more people that do more than what they were doing before. And instead of that original person, which was a pretty good selling 20 cars a month, we now have a person selling at 20, plus we have 5 other people selling an extra 3 or 4 cars a month. Wow. And if you hadn't made the decision to, we're going to miss you, look what you would have missed out on. So sometimes you do have to, as a business owner, you have to say, you know what, we've tried and you're not listening. And so we got to move on. And that's the deal.
See, that's a perfect point because I tell managers all the time, once you get one person to 30 cars a month, whether you're a single point store or a multi-group store, then everybody can say, what's he doing? Now you got something to work with. You got the fire started. The key is keep it. I remember dealers telling me, and you know him, has about 20 stores. And he said, dealers don't mind spending money, but they hate when it goes away in 30 days. So you just got to stick with it, whatever you just make a decision on, and all you're going to do is perfect it. Once you get 1 or 2 guys or gals rocking and rolling doing that, everybody's going to know, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And they follow.
And if I'm your mentor, I'm telling you right now, if I am your mentor and we sit down and we have a discussion, I do my own little synopsis of what I see, and I say, here's what I want you to do. And as soon as you start doing what I want you to do, based on my experience of being in all different aspects of business in general, but if you do what I tell you to do, you're going to get incredible results. I'm working with a fellow right now. His name is Kevin Price. Kevin, I hope you don't mind me calling you out because he's probably going to be listening to this. But he's doing what I asked him to do. Rob Hoffman comes to mind.
Gardner.
Steve Gardner actually made a statement. He thought I was crazy.
Yep.
Am I right or wrong?
Oh, my gosh.
This
I just saw him
nuts.
last week.
I did a presentation in front of a group of people, and he thought I was nuts. But he did what I told him to do, and Chuck Bellina did what I told him to do, on and on. But here I'm working with Kevin Price, and he's in sales as well, a different kind of sales. He's doing what I'm telling him to do. Rodney Little, Omar Brooks. I can give you a list on and on of people that are doing what I'm telling them to do, and they're hitting it out of the park. Is it because of what I'm telling them to do? No, it's because of what I learned from guys like this, and I'm just passing it on.
Yeah, and Fran, I asked you to start this podcast about who are the right people to surround yourself with, and you did a great job giving that answer. And then Jim really added on, who do you not surround yourself with? How do you make sure that you have the right people on the team? And you both talk through that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of salespeople can stay stuck. Maybe they're a one-person sales team, maybe they're in insurance, maybe they're in real estate, or they're not sure really how to grow. And it's like, how do you surround yourself with people that are better at something than you are? And it sounds like you and Jim connected in a way that you knew stuff that Jim didn't need to spend his time on.
He made it fun. I can't tell you. Just a couple, 4 or 5 hours, 3 hours, don't matter. And I used to remember just getting excited going driving there because he was doing it. He was giving us the opportunity to go help him, and he just ran with it. Yeah. As far if you're working in the store and you don't have those rock and roll people, go buy stuff like you're talking about. Go on the internet, go to a couple training classes. It doesn't matter. I used to go to every one around, and I was a hotshot #1 guy. I wanted to learn.
Yes.
When you quit seeking to do better, that's where you fall backwards.
I think so.
Jim, you always say this so well. Things get better as I get better.
Oh, Jim Rohn said that. But everything I have, I stole from somebody. Jim Rohn always said things get better when you get better. But he also says something I think is really cool, and I think it can be misinterpreted. Jim Rohn said, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Now, let's make sure we don't misinterpret that quote, because it sounds like don't work hard on your job. No. If you're working on your job, we're going to work really hard, okay? But we're going to work even harder on ourselves. And that's where you get I'm going to show my age, the cassette tapes in your car as you're driving to work. After work, you're listening, you're reading, you're studying. Sundays, maybe I'm not going to go to the dealership, but I'm going to spend that time reading The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. Sounds like something us sales ladies and gentlemen should be reading. And I did. And I did exactly what Og Mandino told me to do, just like I did exactly what Mr. Hamilton told me to do, just like I did exactly what Fran Taylor told me to do. And now I'm doing it again.
Yeah.
Jim made an excellent point. And I want to stress it because I did that. My manager, Ken, the guy who hired me, said, every day, Fran, take 10 minutes and write down what you can do to make your life better. I really didn't think about that too much, but I made sure when we come 12 o'clock, didn't matter what happened, I started to write down what could I do to make things better. And that's where I came up with the idea of the prospecting tools. The magnets. I'm the guy that started the sold by stickers, magnets on the refrigerator, names on pizza. I'm the guy that started that. Yeah. And I promise you nobody has it before 1982. But if he wouldn't have got me to think, how could I do better? So it's great to surround yourself, but you can come up with some stuff of your own.
Agreed.
I mean, you're not limited to this. You know, the old guys would laugh at me because I spent money on that. But deep down inside it, hey, if I do this, I can live on repeats and referrals. I can work less hours. I can go enjoy more time with my racehorses or whatever I wanted to do. But I needed somebody to say, go do this. Like you were saying, just go do it. What am I thinking about? I don't know, but you can be real creative if you go do it. So that was an excellent point. And I thought, hey, I used to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Fran, thank you. And Jim, thank you for talking about how do we surround ourselves with the right people. Also, who do we not surround ourselves with as we grow? And also, how do we take that kind of authority and that chance ourselves to improve ourselves? I think all of those pieces create success, right?
And please remember, I know some people, and I understand, like, why are we talking about strokes on a sales podcast? Which is really, this is what this is. This is a sales podcast.
Right. Yep.
But I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it's the same thing. And I'm going to just review it one more time, and then Derek, you can, or Fran, whoever wants to close it out, I'm going to be done. The most important step is to figure out what you want, where you want to go, north, south, east, west. You got to figure out what you want. And you got to get crystal clear. You need to be able to write it out specifically, have a picture of it, the whole thing. It's got to be crystal clear in your brain. This is what I want. That's the most important step. And then the most important step, sounds contrary, but it's not. Then the most important step is to figure out, what is your reason why? Does your reason why that you want this goal make you cry? Because if you don't get emotional about the goal, you're probably going to cave in to the adversity that's going to come at you with anything in life, right? So number one, what do you want? Number one, why do you want it? And then the third step, which is also number one, is to find somebody who has done what you want to do successfully. They have credentials. They can show you, okay? Hint. And have a conversation. And by the way, it's great if you can meet with Fran Taylor one-on-one, but that's not always possible. He's a busy guy. He's got his things he's doing. But guess what? He wrote a book. What a blessing. Get his book. Get Og Mandino's book, The Greatest Salesman in the World. Brian Tracy, The Psychology of Selling. Dennis Waitley, The Psychology of Winning. Do these sound compelling to you? They're still out there. And you can buy this stuff for $30, $40. We're not talking about crazy money here. So you could literally today talk to Og Mandino. He's dead. You could talk to Napoleon Hill. He's dead. The book, Think and Grow Rich, is $15, $20, right? So you can seek expert counsel, okay, by finding out the right books, finding out the right podcasts, finding out the right videos, finding out the right, it's great if you can get, one-on-one's the best, but it's not always possible. You can't have a one-on-one today with Napoleon Hill. You can't do it, but you can read his book. He interviewed 500 of the wealthiest people in America over a 25-year stretch. And he asked them, what'd you do? What'd you do? What'd you kept asking. And out of that, all those interviews, he came up with 13 principles. Let me tell you something. Is Think and Grow Rich the best book ever written? No, it's not. It's not. But what do you think? Is it good enough? Now stop and ponder what I just said. If you do exactly what Napoleon Hill tells you to do in the great book, Think and Grow Rich, is that going to be good enough? And in the life of success and positivity and hitting big goals, close enough is close enough. Good enough is good enough. Let's just do it. Right, Frank? Let's just do it. Let's do the freaking book. When I was bankruptcy imminent back in 1998, too much month at the end of the money, I promised Napoleon Hill that I would do exactly what he told me to do. Was it the best book ever on the planet? No, of course not. But it was good enough. And I did that. And one of the things that he told me in the book, I kept seeing it, kept over and over again, seek expert counsel. And I kept thinking, who's expert counsel? I can't think of anybody. What about Mr. Hamilton, my dad's former partner? He had the boats. He had the cars. He had the houses. He was very successful. He had the success. So I went into his office. I knew it. It wasn't like he had to show me credentials. I already knew it. And I said to Mr. Hamilton, walked in his office. I said, Mr. Hamilton, I'm not doing very well. I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I need help. I'm not doing very well. And I said, could you give me a list of 10 things that I should be doing to be a successful automobile dealer? And he called me James. And he said, James, let me think about that. He said, you come back tomorrow morning, I'll have a list for you. So sure enough, I came back the next morning and he hands me this neatly typed up list of these 10 things. And us guys and girls do. First thing I wanted was look at the list. Like, what's the list? This is the secret. Oh, I want to know the secret. How do I get the gold, right? And I looked at the list and and he's talking. And I'm trying to listen to him talk, and I'm looking at the list, and I'm trying to listen and look, and I'm looking. But I came to realize that I wasn't doing anything on that list. Not one thing. Not one thing. And I'm sitting there looking at Mr. Hamilton, and he's behind the desk, and I'm sitting there, and I got my list, and I look behind him, and it says, he has a sign on his wall behind his desk. It says, you got to wanna. And I'm looking at that sign, tears in my eyes, and I said, I want to do it, but I don't know how. I don't know how. And so I left the office and I started doing that list, and the needle started to move just a little bit. And I kept going back. I met with Mr. Hamilton every single week for, I don't know how long, I can't tell you that, but every single week. Kept asking for more. And then one of the pieces of advice he gave me, one of the very best pieces of advice that he gave me was, Jim, you need to join a think tank. James, they call me James. You need to join a think tank. You need to join a 20 group. Yeah. And you know what I did when my dad died? When you're in a 20 group, and the founder dies, the member dies, they send in a team to help you run the dealership. Part of the deal. It's a brotherhood. So my dad died. And Jeff Lambton, who was the moderator of the group, calls me. He says, Jim, so sorry for your loss. He says, we got a team ready to come in and help you out. I said, what do you think I said?
Come on.
Not interested.
Oh.
I got this. I know what I'm doing. And I resigned from the 20 group on the spot. 2 years later, I'm bankruptcy imminent. Guess what? If I knew as much as I thought I knew, I would have been pretty darn smart. I was arrogant. That's why I promised Napoleon Hill I'd never be arrogant again. And so here I am with Mr. Hamilton, and he's telling me to do what?
Join a 20 group.
Join a 20 group. And you know what? If I never told him a story, and I can't, he died as well. I miss that man tremendously. But he would have been amazed to hear me tell him what I did. He would have said, James, I love you, but you're a dumbass. You're a dumbass. That's what I did.
Yeah.
Case closed.
Yeah. Fran, thank you. And Jim, thank you guys for just sharing about selling from the heart and just empowering people to live out their purpose. That's really the goal of this podcast, is to help people rethink sales